Hello, everyone. This is Greg Aden, and I've got a special guest for you today. And she's going to push you to be uncomfortable. I can tell you that already. And I've only known her for I don't know a year or so now, but this is the first time that I've actually had a chance to find out who is Mercedes Blanco and where does she come from, and more importantly, what's her why. And we're going to dig in just a second. So, with that, Mercedes, welcome, and thanks for being my guest today.
Well, thank you, Greg. The pleasure is all mine. So thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you.
Absolutely. So we know something's big on the horizon. It always is with you. I get the feeling you've moved up and up and up, and or maybe down to get up. Look forward to hearing some of that. But first, tell the audience who is Mercedes and where are you from, and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I'm originally from Zamora, which is a city in the middle of nowhere in Spain.
Mm,
Um, beautiful city. It is a Romanesque city with lots of churches, but there is nothing to do there really. So I left when I was 18 to pursue my career, my studies, my professional career. And 10 years ago, actually 10 years ago this summer, I took a leap and I moved to the United States. So ever since I've been here. That was one of the biggest decisions of my life. I always thought that it was going to be just temporary for 2 to 3 years, and here am I, 10 years later. Other than that, what can I say about me? I work at the Hotels Network. I'm the Chief Partnership Officer. I'm in charge of all of the global strategic partnerships for the business, and also in charge of the sales for big accounts for enterprise. On the personal note, I love to work out. It is a passion of mine. I cannot
mm,
be mentally strong if I don't dedicate some time to myself every day. So, Greg, if you see me traveling to conferences, which I do all the time, you will also see me waking up quite early. It doesn't matter what I said that we did the night before, because I always do that before going to the conference.
I heard what you said. No matter what you're doing the night before, and I've been to several conferences as well. And it's funny that we can always justify not getting up in the morning because we were overserved or decided to over libate, so to speak. I want to go back to that little town in Spain. Tammy and I were in Spain last June, and oh wow, loved it. Barcelona is where we were. But what was the name of the town? And help us spell it.
Zamora, it's Zamora.
Zamora.
Yes.
Nothing to do there, huh?
Well, for tourists, absolutely yes. There is tons of things to do, but don't get me wrong. It's the kind of mid-sized city where there is no industry of
Yeah,
any sort. There is no big opportunities for young people wanting to conquer the world. So
sure.
you have no other choice than to go to Madrid or Barcelona for that matter.
Yeah. So when you decided to come to the United States, how did you pick where you first landed and why? And if it's not where you are today, Mercedes, just tell us where you are.
Yeah, it is. It is. I am still in Miami. That's where I first landed at. I always say that I have a love-hate relationship with the city. I love the
Mm,
weather and how well connected it is with North and South America, and of course Europe. But Miami is not really the United States. And although I'm from Spain, and yes, I speak the language of, well, everyone in Miami speaks Spanish, but it's
right.
not the same culture. So it's kind of a bubble on its own. And the reason when I'm here, or when I came here, it was personal. My ex husband back then, he got transferred, and I decided to follow him, which was also another thing to add into the hard decision, because
Mm,
I'm not the type that would follow.
yeah. But you've decided that, well, first of all, I wanted to comment on responsible for all the strategic partnerships at Hotels Network. I mean, just let that set in, listener, for a second. When an organizations want to partner with somebody, they send someone that can communicate, they can negotiate to a certain degree, but they are excellent communicators. So, how did you end up in this position, and where were you prior to it within Hotels Network?
Yeah. So I think that is because probably because of my father and also because of who I am as a human being. And my father actually worked in the radio all his life.
Hmm.
So I think that because of him, I am a good communicator, or I believe that I am at least.
Yeah.
And I enjoy also public speaking. I think that's because of him. And all my career has been kind of in between sales and marketing and business development. And all of those three are super related to
Yeah.
business and partnerships. And before THN, the Hotels Network, I was at VCV, which was acquired by Reagan, and it was a fully dedicated sales role. First, as an individual contributor when I first started, but then they promoted me several times till I led the Americas team. The challenge back then is that sales is sales. And don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I love sales and it's a part of my job still today. But I wanted to be more involved in the business itself. I wanted
Yeah.
to have a bigger role, to have a say in the direction of the company and help build something beyond sales.
Yeah. So what behaviors did you shift? What relationships did you lean in on? Who did you confide in to say, is what I want possible? And if it is, Jim, Julie, both, what should I do? So I'm not only taken seriously, because what you just said, a lot of people don't even understand what it takes to believe in themselves to that degree. But yet, I'm going to probably hear what your plan was. So I'd love for you to tell the audience, what was the fear? What was their apprehension, if any? Or do you just say, I deserve to be heard? And so walk us through how that happened, because I believe, especially for some of the younger individuals listening, this is what it takes to take a thought and a dream and put it into action. And then when you look back, wow, this is what I did. So tell us the story.
Well, do you know when you have a room full of kids and the teacher asks a question, there is always one or two kids that they always raise their hands.
Yeah.
I was one of them. That's me. I didn't care, and I still don't care today if I say the right or the wrong answer. To me, what matters is that I am learning in the process,
Yeah.
right? So that's how I behave all my life. And you don't leave your home, the town that that you know, or the town where you move for university, or your country, your continent, if you don't have a desire to do, I don't want to say bigger things, but different things,
Right.
right? You have that eagerness to continue to learn, to continue to develop yourself. So I've always been my biggest advocate. I've always said to myself that I am the one and only person that for sure I'm gonna go to sleep with and I'm going to wake up with every day for the rest of my life. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what other things happen in my life. I am always going to be there for me. And of course, I do need support. I need family, I need a partner, I need friends, I need all of that, and I need external validation like any other human being, right? But when it comes to work, your work normally it speaks on its own. If you really put the effort, even if you are in sales and the sales are not coming, there are other areas that you can measure, other qualitative things that you can put on the table.
Yeah.
So something that I've done all my career is keep track into the things that I've done, into the things that I've excelled, my strengths and my weaknesses, being also very my my biggest advocate, but also my biggest enemy by identifying my weak areas and trying to improve them. But instead of punishing me for not being good enough in those weak areas, I focus into the areas where I thought that I was stronger and I push through them, right? If
Hmm.
I have X quality and I think that I am better than the average with that X quality, that is the quality that I am really developing. So I excel.
Yeah.
And with that, and also with taking or keeping track of all of the things that I've done, I've always raised my hand. When there is a position where there has been a position in the company, and even when there was not, I talked to my boss at the time, and I always ask, "Listen, do you have any feedback? If you do, fantastic. If you don't, please tell me." And also, by the way, this is what I believe that I've done right. This is what I believe that I could improve. Could you help me improve this?
Hmm.
Also, I think that the company could benefit from having me doing X instead of Y, and always bringing up things
Yeah.
that potentially push me towards the area that I wanted to go into. And I've always done so. And of course, I was afraid of rejection. But the worst thing that can ever happen to you is someone says no.
Right.
But I've always pushed beyond my comfort zone by advocating and by proposing new things.
Yeah. Well, there's so much here to unpack. First of all, love the fact that you're that kid that always raised their hand. It's impossible to get noticed if you don't do something different. And just this behavior is, hey, notice me. I might have something to add to this conversation. And if you don't have something to add to the conversation, then lean in a little bit and find out how can you listen differently so next time you can participate in the conversation. Now, we don't teach our children that. Some of it's just inherent. You might have seen or felt or heard your dad have a really curious voice, asking great questions. In my humble opinion, not only as a leadership coach or when I was in sales for 20 some years in the hospitality industry, the only way, the only way I succeeded was to find out where the other person is coming from. What is it that you want? And how can I help you get that? And then it becomes a partnership. And I know that sounds really corny, but I told people like lots of awards and salesperson of the year, blah, blah, blah. But I actually said to the people that cared, I don't think I sold anything. I helped somebody buy something they said they wanted. So now I'm a partner with you to help you get what you said you wanted. Now we have to behave accordingly, etc. The other thing I heard you sell is, or say that you said is share the areas in which you are excelling in, which is great. We're a proponent of ourselves, where we want to advocate for ourselves. But again, that's a skill a lot of people don't even believe is important because they see it as bragging. There's a big difference between being braggadocious and advocating for yourself. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think that there is anything wrong about pushing for yourself.
Mhm.
Honestly, first of all, bragging is speaking without hard facts. When you are putting things in front of people, you have done your research, you have done your work, and you are justifying your opinion on hard facts.
Yeah.
So this is not about being cocky, it's about believing in your true power.
And the latter is sexy and attractive, and the other is off-putting and people who don't want to be around an arrogant, you know what, and
Yeah.
arrogant and narcissism and ego and etc. They're all together. The other thing then I believe you may have felt or learned throughout your years is no one's coming. No one's waking up every day wondering, how can I serve Mercedes Blanco? How can I they just don't exist other than parents, maybe a partner, right? I get that. And you said, you know, you need that. And not you needed someone to help you, but you need certain things. We all do. Food, water, shelter, friends, partner perhaps. But beyond that, what do you want? And I believe you have been an example of someone who has figured out what it is she wants and not knowing how to go and get it other than being confident and advocating for yourself because no one's coming. And I don't believe enough people realize that.
Yeah.
Mommy and daddy aren't here to take care of you. They're not here to pay your rent and buy you a car. And again, I believe that's a little bit of the society we are in with some
Yeah.
generations. Again, different topic. But I believe when you are self-supportive, self-sufficient, and asking questions, people don't realize it's not just a leadership skill. It's a powerful communication skill to be authentically curious and lean in and say, hey, Jim, hey, Julie, what is it I can do better? Here's what I believe I do really well. And these things we may agree I can improve on. But if I really want to be a bigger part of this organization, what's our plan? And they give you insight, and then you go back and you say, okay, here's my plan. And
Exactly.
it's either accepted or it's not. So I do want to go back to when you decided to say, I want to be a bigger part of this organization. Tell us who, if you're comfortable, give this human being or these human being names, and tell us a little bit more about the detail of those conversations to which they said, yes,
Yeah,
let's give her this opportunity.
absolutely. I'm totally comfortable sharing that because I think that that is relevant to my story. First of all, because keep in mind that there are two things that really impacted who I am today. One was when I first came into the United States, I knew no one.
Mm,
But I was not a kid. I already had a career in Europe. So I had to go back a little bit in my career, which definitely was out of my comfort zone, right?
yeah,
To be where I am today. That was one. The second one was, and still is, a characteristic of mine. I will forever have an accent. I learned English when I was in my 20s. So at the beginning, because we were talking at the beginning how important communication is, and for, I've always thought that I've always been a good communicator. It was a challenge, still is today. Yeah, you could consider me bilingual, but I will always have that accent or something, and that caused me some insecurities back then. Not now, because I think that I embraced it, and now it's part of my identity, right?
yeah,
But just keep in mind that because when I finally landed into a company that was into travel technology or hospitality technology, which was VCV, and we are talking about, gosh, 7, 8 years ago. So it took me 2 years, 2 years and a half after I moved to the US to really get into the type of company or business that I wanted to get into. Okay.
yeah,
And I did so at a level that was not the level that I would have hoped when I first moved into the United States. Still I did it because I knew that hey, this is getting me through the path that I want to be. And I will
yeah.
continue and I will prove myself, which I did. So a year or a year and a half later, when I had numbers to back me up and really results, I called my boss, and his name was Michael Byrne. We are still in very good terms today. And when it was my annual year review, I told him, "Listen, I have a proposal for you. Okay, this is what I've accomplished. This is where the company is going, and I believe that I can help grow the company internationally." One, because I not only know now the US, I know Latin America because I speak the same language, and I know
Yeah,
Europe because I come from there. And I have contacts that are still based in Europe that the company can leverage.
yeah.
And the company now is mature enough to grow and jump internationally. So I want to have a leadership role to help the company grow internationally. And I presented a business case. This was just not me talking, right? I presented
Sure.
the numbers of everything that I accomplished and the business plan of what I wanted to achieve in the future. And I guess that he liked my proposal, and the rest of the team did because they gave me that promotion, and that was the beginning of the Mercedes that you know today.
Beautiful. Well, I was witnessing a women in leadership panel at NARO, which is an organization that had their annual conference in Vail, and I was just a participant. And you can't imagine how many times they said the word advocate, but have the facts. Be sure you can tell a compelling story. It's not about saying I deserve. It's here's an opportunity for the company to grow. Here's what my plan is, and I'd like a leadership role. How many people do you honestly know, Mercedes, that would have done that and have done that since you've been around? I
Uh,
mean,
well, I'll tell you, no one has proposed anything like that to me. No one that I've ever managed. Even I'll go one step beyond that because you know that I am quite involved with several organizations like HSMAI, Women in Travel Thrive. I do volunteer because I want to help others have an easier
yeah,
way in than me. And even through the people that I've mentored in the past few years, or even the people that I haven't mentored, but I always say that, hey, reach out after a conference. My LinkedIn is always open, and I guarantee you, I always respond. The amount of people that they reach out, then they don't follow up, they don't continue, to me is mind blowing.
when I hear you say that, Mercedes, the first thing that I hear in my head and my heart is they want an easy way out. Now, you did it in air quotes, but what you really said was, why do people want it easy? Because it's only, and again, I preaching to the choir here, but I'm going to say this for the audience. If something's easy, it's possibly not going to last. And if you didn't work for it, will you truly ever really respect it? And so, do these people today, men and women, just regardless of how old you are, do you really want to work hard? Or do you believe someone owes you something? And for the love of God, when someone like Mercedes Blanco says, hey, reach out if you need anything, and they don't, knowing your story, I only can imagine the reason they don't is because you're going to ask them to do the work instead of flipping the switch and, oh, Julie or John or Stevie or Greggy get a job. But that's not the real world. And you've not only worked in the real world, you're creating your own world. And I just want you to hear that and recognize that um, I've only known you for a year or so through Thrive, and give them some credit for what they're doing for women in hospitality. But again, it doesn't matter what company you are, what organization, who you are. Nothing is, like I said, no one's coming. No one's sending you $1,000 saying, hey, go get a better wardrobe. And oh, by the way, here's someone I would like for you to interview with. Now, mommy and daddy do that, but that's not the real world. So are you saying that you're a good communicator because of your dad, but where did you learn work ethic? Where did you learn to own your stuff so other people can see the best stuff?
Honestly, I don't know. I
Mm,
think that it comes with me.
yeah,
It comes with me. I don't know if obviously I wasn't born with it. I I learned it from the education that my parents gave me, the education from school, my friends. Perhaps I've been extremely fortunate to have good examples around me. Also, I grew up in the 80s and 90s believing in the American dream, which is no other thing that work hard and you will get it. But
yeah.
there is a work hard part.
Yeah, I was with IHG for 16 and a half years, 13 of them as a regional director and 3.5 as a VP. And I will tell you, the people that I sold franchises to or helped buy franchises, 80% of them were from India, Pakistan, et cetera, et cetera. They came to America and outworked the people who said, I deserve this. And that's just a fact. And you're very familiar with AHOA. I mean, look at that organization and how they've grown and their leadership and what they mean to the hospitality industry. And not many people understand that 75, 80% of every single hotel asset is franchised, not
Mhm.
necessarily by AHOA members, but a large percentage of them are. Land of the dream? Absolutely. But I believe the Americans dream a little bit too much and they're getting outworked by people who are coming over here believing, hey, you can't imagine where I'm from. I can't wait to go to Miami and fit in or not fit in. And by the way, accent or not, all I see is a beautiful, powerful woman who is clear with her communication. Accent or not, if people would listen to you and how you speak with intention, and it's not, it's like, and it's no, and all. I mean, it just drives me nuts. And I believe just to young women who want to take themselves seriously, they do themselves a big favor of just listening to you communicate.
Well, thank
That's
you for saying that, Greg. That is beautiful.
Well, it's just one man's opinion. It's just one person's opinion. But I say I get to have an opinion because I coach people for a living. And I hear some of the most ridiculous excuses for not owning your word, not holding yourself accountable, not having courageous conversations, not having passion for what you do. And then you have the you know what's to turn around and say, can you make it easy on me? Leadership is not easy. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to share with the audience, what do you believe Mercedes Blanco makes a great leader?
Listening, which it will go also into sales. You kind of mentioned that because the world is full of people that it's only waiting for you to finish so they can say their piece
Yeah.
without listening to any word. Fearless. They're, they have to be willing to take bigger risks, bigger than average, have a clear vision. To me, be a little bit inspiring, and most definitely being comfortable with change.
When did you realize that being uncomfortable is a great way to grow? And with growth comes change. So tie all that together for us.
I think that's because it's only when you do that when great things happen. If you continue doing the same things over and over again, you can only expect always the same results. And actually, you just reminded me, gosh, I haven't thought about this in ages. When I went to college, I had a little poster in my room, in my dorm, that said, "Are you happy? Yes. Continue doing what you are doing. No, change something. Are
Mm,
you happy? Yes. Continue doing that. No, change again." Right? I We all know people that are always complaining. And when you tell them that or ask them what is it that they are gonna do, it's like nothing. I'm just gonna just keep going. Well, that's not me. Like I
mm,
said, I was born in Zamora. I love my family. I love my roots. I love my heritage. But I knew that I wanted to explore the world and know more.
yeah.
So obviously, that's the first time that I was uncomfortable by going out. And when I went out and I explored other things, gosh, my mind opened so much because till that moment, I only knew what I knew. But then I started to see other perspectives, other point of views, other many things. And that was only the beginning. Then, obviously, we all have the things that we decide to do and that we are changing because we want to. And we all have things that unfortunately happen to us. We all do. And maybe you are not where you were where you were dreaming to be when you were on your 20s, but you are here and you are who you are because of everything that has happened to you. Instead of complaining, look at the cards that have been given to you and do something.
Wow.
Okay. I always say we all have hobbies. I love history. Does that mean that I would have been a great historian? I have no clue, but I know that if you put me to do the same thing for the rest of my life forever, I will be bored, which
Mm,
is most likely what happens when you are doing research, right? So again, I know me, I know my strengths, I know that I need communication, I know that I need action, I know that I need globalization. Therefore, I started to move myself into an industry that I love, within a role that I think that I can do good, within a company that I believe in, because that's also to me something very important. I cannot work for a company that does not share my values, or at least that has a positive environment. And then, without realizing, you are moving an engine that is bringing you lots of joy.
well, let's give credit to the hotel network or THN for listening to you and allowing you to advocate with a plan and becoming who you are as a human being, as a woman, as a leader. And you're obviously very critical to the success of that organization. So let's give them credit for listening to you and providing opportunities. At least that's where we stand today. Yes.
Yes, no, absolutely. Both THN and BCB back then, they both believed in me and they gave me great opportunities, and they trusted me, which is something that I know that I need.
Well, they trusted you and believed in you because you believed in yourself and you weren't happy with doing the same thing over and over and over. I can't imagine in a room full of 18 to 23-year-old women having an opportunity to hear you say half of what you shared with our audience today, what they could do and would do when they went home and said, "Mom and Dad, guess who I just listened to?" Wow. You that's what I hope you do on the side. And I know you're helping Thrive, etc. But yeah, just what a great opportunity for someone to listen to your story and be motivated by. But you're not saying it's easy. You're actually telling people you're going to have to get uncomfortable before you can get comfortable. And then when you get comfortable, stop being comfortable and get more uncomfortable. I mean, honestly, it's brilliant suggestion, but only to a percentage of people who actually like working out and working on themselves and constant growth. And you're in a very small percentage. And welcome to the United States, where you're thriving, pardon the pun, because of who you are and what you learned. And you said it earlier, and I just want to bring this back up. You said I was lucky enough to have examples around me, perhaps, where I asked where you learned it. You saw it, you felt it, you knew it. And you said, I want to emulate those people, and I don't really want to emulate these people over here. And that's another thing you're saying without saying it is, who are you following? Who do you listen to? And why don't you close us up with that? Who do you listen to? Who do you aspire to not maybe be, but have some of his or her traits?
Hmm. I will say that obviously my closer friends are people that I have chosen because of given reasons, and I always listen to them. But still, we are all different.
Mm,
That doesn't mean that they understand my industry, my personal situation. They might know me, they might respect me, but they might not think the same that I do, right? So we also have to be careful about who we listen to.
yeah,
Okay. I most definitely love my parents. They are incredible people, but their life and my life are nothing alike.
yeah,
They've never left their hometown. They've never traveled much. My experiences are totally different. So whenever they are giving me any sort of advice, their advice comes from what they have experienced in life.
yeah.
And that might not be good advice for me. So
Mm,
you have to be careful with that. Who I listen to, I try to listen to everyone that knows me because I know that at least they have their best, my best interest at their heart. But ultimately, I am the one that decides. And then I am gonna say I wish I had more. I'm gonna call them mentors or friends or colleagues that I admire in the industry. I definitely have some, and I do reach out here and there. If I am thinking about something, I've reached out to many of my peers or people that I just admire. Like few years ago, I also did some coaching. They were coaching me. I was definitely not coaching anyone,
sure.
but they asked me do some research and try and find women that that you admire. And I did so, and I am afraid that I didn't find that many. Not because they are not strong, incredible women in the industry. There are not many at C-level roles.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a challenge. I found many at my level, but not higher up within the organizations. But still, I did the research. I reached out to some of them, and well, same way that I was surprised to see how people didn't follow up with me, you'd be surprised how many people, even without them knowing you, are open to have a conversation if you have a question about something. I reached out to a few of them and I had conversations with some of them, and some of them are still in touch with me today.
Well, I know one thing for sure. I reached out and said, Mercedes Blanco, I would like for you to be a guest on my podcast. And you immediately responded, yes, let's talk about this. And here we are. And I have this saying in my coaching firm. It goes, it's very simple. You will get 100% of what you don't ask for. And a lot of people don't ask because they're afraid to hear no. I'm not afraid to hear no because they're not saying no to me. They're saying no to an opportunity, and that's fine. And even if they are saying no to me, guess what? I'm not for everybody. I'm not for everybody because I challenge in it, but I do it and I try and do it in a loving way. And people don't like to be challenged. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Greg, that you and I, we both share sales background. There is no way that you could have been in sales if we were not comfortable with hearing no.
Right. Well, I've heard of no, I know a lot of other places too, but it makes me grow, and I've loved being in leadership because I believe leadership is by far one of the most important things in any organization, in any relationship, parenting, husband, wife, partnership, whatever. Someone at some point has got to lead, but they lead better by asking questions to find out where it is we all should go, and doing that with empathy and humility. So you're not always showing up as the person who knows it all. So I hope everyone has enjoyed our conversation, Mercedes, as much as I have. And just to say that you are comfortable with change. You are excited about being uncomfortable because then you know there's desire or reason for change. But I just again want to bring it back to you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. You're a young woman with a lot of future in front of you, helping other women try and grow. And I'm just going to say this as boldly as I can. If Mercedes says, reach out to me if you need anything or want anything, please reach out to Mercedes and find out what you just might learn. And love that smile. And I appreciate your time. And is there anything else you'd like to just say that's in your heart at this moment?
I just want to say thank you because it is not common to be able to share a little bit about who you are and share more about you, generally speaking. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. I do appreciate everything that you do as well. And thank you also for supporting not only me, but the rest of Women in Travel Thrive as well.
My pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. And Rachel Humphrey gets all the credit for saying you might look into this. And it's been nothing but joy so far. And I know we have a long way to go if we really want to get there. But again, Mercedes Blanco, thank you for taking your time. I appreciate you being my guest. And for those of you that want to write down just something, ask yourself, are you happy? And if you are, what else do you want to talk about? What else do you really want to do tomorrow if you really pushed yourself? And what if you were a little bit more comfortable with being uncomfortable? Would you change? And if you did change, what could that do for you and all the relationships that are around you? Because remember, as you grow, everyone around you has an opportunity to grow. But when you shrink and you fade and you just kind of wilter away, what is that going to do to your relationships? So, a little bit of tidbit or something to think about. And you don't have to be in sales to be a great communicator, but you have two people in front of you that dabbled in it. So you might want to look into where can you really hone your communication skills. And it's not going to be talking to yourself. I know that. So with that, go out and lead somebody, love somebody, be kind, and be sure to thank the people that have helped you come along the way, as we talked about here with Mercedes. And again, thank you, Mercedes, and to everyone else, stay safe and God bless.